our dad, your friend, and our coach, Yusuf Khan. Today, I really want to make sure that we are happy and celebrate his life. We're going to start off with Azam, who is going to say a few words.
It's great to see some old faces and some new ones. So thank you everyone for showing up. What a great tribute and respect for my dad that everyone showed up. So thank you very much. You know, my dad had two lives. The first half, he was about 40, 45 in India, and then the second half here. When he was in India, he started off as a ball boy, you know, when he was 7 years old, and he used to play with the upper brass and military. The upper military people in India was ruled by England, so they kind of took him under his wings, and they would, you know, let him be a ball boy to pick up squash balls, tennis balls, and then from there he used to practice with his cousins and his uncles, and Yusuf got to be pretty good. Right? You guys hear me? So you got to be a pretty good player. You have to get that back. Take it back. I think that's Yusuf coming down. Doing a good job. So he would do that, and he got to be pretty good. And he wherever he went, he had such passion for the game that he connected with people, and he would just pass on the game, the gift that gave him and our family, the game of squash. So squash gave him an opportunity from there to come to the U.S. And also he was a great tennis player. You guys knew that. So he actually came here in '68 as a tennis pro, and he was teaching tennis. Okay, can you guys hear me? Okay. All right, we'll try. So he was a good tennis player also. So he came here as a tennis pro, and for 2 years he was teaching tennis, and he all of a sudden went around and he saw a squash court, and he told someone, hey, I can do that too. Because, what do you mean, you can play that game? He goes, yeah, I'm good at that game too. So he ended up giving squash and tennis lessons at the Seattle Tennis Club. And after a while, he stopped tennis and just did squash because he had so much passion for it. Then after that, I would say, you know, we have 8 siblings, and on a squash only job and tennis salary, he worked so hard. You know, I remember, you know, him getting up at 7:30 in the morning, leaving, not seeing him till 9 at night. And I was wondering, where's this guy going? You know, and we get calls at home, so-and-so's calling for a lesson of this person. And then finally realized that he was just teaching all the time. He'd give something like 20 lessons a day. Amazing. Amazing to do that, because Siobhan and myself, Natasha and I, you all try to do that, but we're not even close to what he did. And we really appreciate what he did because we do it. And the amount of time he did just to support his family and to give lessons because people wanted it. He'd never say no. It was just mind-boggling to me. So, very hard worker. Family man. You know, he led by example. He loved his family. He loved people being around. Family gatherings was huge. You know, we have a birthday every month. There's so many of us. My wife would say, geez, you guys celebrate every day. I was like, yeah, we do. So we go there, and my dad had that booming voice. Come in the door, awesome! Awesome! You know, I said, yeah, Dad, I'm here. And, you know, just that's like, you know, that voice I'll never forget. And they used to call me Awesome the Great all the time. Awesome the Great, Awesome the Great. And I'm thinking, why is he calling me Awesome the Great? I found out that's what my name means. So he gave me a good name. So also for me, it was, you know, I remember Dad, two parts of my life, the first 16 years and after 16, because when 16 came, I had this dream of becoming a great basketball player. I played basketball all the time. And he said, okay, Azam, you know, you're pretty good, but I want you to wait. I don't want you to play on your sophomore year at high school, because I was so-called supposed to make varsity. I don't know about that, but he said, no, Azam, I want you to wait. I said, why? Because, well, I'm opening up this club, Seattle Rackets Club, and it opened up in April. So I waited, and that's when I got into squash. That's when, for 5 years at the Seattle Rackets Club, from '81 to '86, and that's where a lot of the old faces here, and it's great to see you guys. Those memories will never go away. We were there. That's where he built the foundation of teaching people, teaching us how to teach, how to get along with people, how to respect people, respect the game. You know, we were under his mentorship. You know, he coached us, and we just watched him, how he interacted with everybody and how hard he worked. So for 5.5 years, we worked with him. We were very fortunate to have that time. And after that, we went to Seattle Club. And in '91 is when everything was going great for everybody. We were teaching a lot of lessons. I was still playing. And then he comes up to me and he goes, Azam, I need you to go to the east side. I said, I can't even find my way to the east side. Where do you go to the east side? Back then, you know, I was like, I never came over here. He goes, I need you to go and promote the game. I said, are you trying to tell me I'm expendable here? And he goes, no, we just have to give back. We have to just introduce the game to the east side. So that's the reason I'm at the Pro Sports Club, is because of my dad. He told me to go out there in '91. And it was a great decision for myself, my family, and everybody that plays. You know, we just passed on what he was doing. So that you know, he gave me the two biggest gifts of introducing squash to me, and then introducing where I've been at 28 years in the Pro Sports Club. So that was great. I also want to, I don't know if you guys know this, but he was a trash talker. He was a trash talker before all these trash talking everyone says. So you go into a lesson, and you come in, and you know, back then I was really hyper and energetic. He goes, young man, are you fit? Yeah, I'm fit. I'm running 5 miles, I'm doing this, I'm lifting. Are you fit? I said, okay. That was the worst mistake I ever made. He would run me ragged for the next 45 minutes. I was done after 10, but I had to go. So he was one of those things, he would trick you into saying, oh, are you in shape? And your pride wants to say yes, but your mind says to say no. No, because you're going to pay a price, you know. Or he would say, you know, I'm going to beat you today, 9-2. What's going on here? He's like, why are you doing that? But he was ruthless on the court. When he was on the court, he would beat you 9-2. He would say it, he'd do it. Okay? And then, the other thing is really, some of you guys will know is, this is terrible, but he was so ruthless that he wouldn't just put you at your misery out there. What he would do is give you this thing called slow poison. Slow poison means he's going to run you ragged, where you don't know if you should stop or go. But you think you can, you do, and it just hurts more. So he'll give you the slow poison. I'm going to say a couple of things on his favorite sayings. He would say, Azam, there's a 17-foot wall, but you decide to hit 19 inches of tin. And then the other thing he would say is he'd watch people through Seattle Racket Club days, Seattle Club days, college club, and people would be in there and one person would be yelling, ah! And I said, Yusuf would go in there, open the door, and he goes, why make frustration for yourself? And the guy goes, what? He goes, you're here to release stress, have a good time. You're not here, you're not a professional. You don't need to do this for a living. Come here and relax. Don't make frustration for yourself by getting angry and going home and being more upset. So that's a line that I think is great. You know, you just go in, you have a good time, and not leave the club being more upset than when you came, right? And the other thing I'd say is Dad, one of his favorite sayings forever was, hang in there. And that's so, rings so true right now. You know, so we just all hang in there and we just remember the good times that we were able to share with him, and the love. So thank you very much for all of you coming out.
Okay, Azam said there were no tears today, so I'm going to do my best. So basically, there are 8 kids. I have 2 older sisters, and I have 2 older brothers, and I guess I was the tiebreaker on number 5. So number 5, this is what you're going to see today, the eyes of what it was like to be number 5. That's what my daughter said to talk about, not the coach, but what it was like to be his child. All I ever really wanted to do was just be with him. If you look at a couple of these pictures, the man was a big man with a big personality, and you walk around with him and he was just really cool. Especially that one when he's standing next to the Mercedes. Just cool. So he taught us these sports that he loved. We played a little bit of cricket, and in fairness, it's not the cricket you all know, it was a version we could understand. And I think, Azam, it was us against him, wasn't it? And every once in a while, I think I was a token that had to go over there to try to kind of help lose. So I was with my dad for a while. Then he took us onto the tennis courts, and Grandma Jane was stuck on the court with me while my siblings were playing with my dad. And I just want you to know that I fell in love with tennis first by watching my dad. I think he had the most beautiful strokes I'd ever seen. People would actually stop and actually watch him play. And there I was on that court back again with Grandma Jane. She's a very smart woman, so she'd read books on how to do it. And so I was standing there, position 1, position 2, position 3, and I was like, gosh, can we swing at this ball yet? And she just kept saying it, and I'd look over and I'd see my siblings playing with my dad, and I thought, oh gosh, can't that be me? Finally, Grandma Jane would say, okay, Shavana, ball's coming now. I was like, okay, it's finally coming. And it'd come, and I'd swing, and I was like, that was it? And I'd look back over, and then I'd hear that voice that Osmond talked about, Shavana! I was like, oh, I'm coming. Sorry, gotta ditch you. I am so sorry, Grandma Jane. Where are you? I ditched you so fast. And I ran over there, and I just got 5 minutes with him, but it seemed like an eternity, because it was just me and him. That's all I ever really wanted, just to be alone with him. So then, strike 1, tennis wasn't going to happen because I had my siblings. So we go to 2. Every weekend, Dad would say, because that's where his passion really was squash. Who wants to go play squash? Nobody wanted to play squash. Well, guess what? I took him up on it. I said, Dad, I'll go. Shavana, you'll go? Oh, I'll go. Let's go. Because get your stuff. And we'd go, and I loved it. This was at the college club. And before the bar opened, the bartender would say, Yusuf, what are you going to have to drink? Our dad never drank alcohol. He'd say, I'm going to have some lemonade. And then the bartender would look at me and say, what are you going to have, young lady? I'd look up at him. I said, a lemonade. And to this day, I don't drink alcohol. And if you ever have me over, I'll have a glass of lemonade. Well, that was too good to last because Dad was persistent. Every weekend, he'd say, who wants to go play squash? One day, I heard this voice say, I'll go. No. I looked around, I said, who's saying that? It was awesome. And then after that, I heard another one say, I'll go. I go, no, who's that? It was Ayub. So Ayub and Azam go, oh, we'll get our stuff. And I said, no, why are you guys coming? This was our time. So anyway, good news is that they were very good, very fast, and they were competing against each other before you knew it. I got to sit outside the court with my dad again, alone, and watch. And the ride home was very quiet, just so you know, because one was always winning. It wasn't you, Awesome. But anyway, what happened is we'd get home, and I was like, gosh, I'm 2 strikes now. Tennis on the squash. When is this going to happen? Like Azam said, though, Dad got the club, and I went there, and I said, oh, this is kind of cool. I'll go to work with my dad. How often do you get to go to work every day with your dad? Well, I got there, and then all of you showed up. And that was a nightmare because you all had your private time with him. On the court, and definitely after. I'd walk around and I said, Awesome, what is that? Why do they sit with him for so long after their lesson? Because I don't know, come on, let's get out there, I'll hit with you. So that was probably the best thing, because Awesome got me to fall in love with squash, and then he dumped me and he says, go find your friends now. He was so good, so fast. All right, so you can kind of see, right, I'm on 2 strikes here still. Well, we went to the Seattle Athletic Club, and I remember, I don't know, I must have been about 17, 18 years old. And I got in the car with my dad, and it was just the 2 of us. And one thing our dad did not like was pouting. You did not pout. So I tried to look away. I so remember this very clearly. And he said, Shvana, you know, you can be mad all you want at your brothers and sisters. And I went, oh God, how does he know this? And I said, uh-huh. And he says, you can yell at them, you can fight it with them, whatever you want. I'm gonna stay out of your way. But let me tell you something, if anything ever happens to you, your brothers and sisters will be the first ones to go to war with you. And that right there, people, was my 3rd and final chance. I learned so much in that car. And once again, it was just the 2 of us. And as time went on, and I got older, I decided I better carpool with him. That's my only time with him, alone. And I learned so much. You know, when we got in fights, brothers and sisters, one of the code we had was we wouldn't tell on each other to Dad. It'll come. I gotta tell you guys something. I never really told on you guys. But as I got older, I asked for advice. That's all. He just gave advice. He stayed out of it, but he gave me advice. But I guess the best part of it is what he taught me on those car rides, which is so important that I'd like to share with you today, is that I really learned about politics. I learned about current affairs. To this day, I watch 60 Minutes like he did religiously. He was grooming me because he knew all 8 of us were different. And he even taught us differently. I had different lessons than my siblings. But I think he really worried how I would be. I still am, shy. And I think he was really worried about that. And these conversations that we had was just teaching me so much. I just wanted to be like him. Today, I still want to be like him. And when I got into college, and towards the end of college, the conversation started to change. And that's really important to know, because a man like that, who I think is just so great, he really just said, what's your opinion? What do you think? How did you know that? Here he was willing to listen to me now and learn from me. What an important lesson. So in my car rides with my daughter 5 days a week, we drive together for a very long time. I really spend a lot of time listening and talking to her, giving her my opinions, and I hope that one day that I'll be able to get hers back and she'll educate me like I had that experience with my dad. So I just want to tell you that that's where I really learned a lot about who I am. He gave me a voice in that car. I really learned to fight for what's right and be careful when you speak up, because there are consequences. That's what he taught me. So anyway, I just want to thank you all for being here. You guys are absolutely amazing. And that's perspective from child number 5. Okay, Shanaz number 2 is up. You are Shanaz.
Okay, I wasn't sure I was going to say anything, but I guess I am.
You have to.
I have to. The one thing about my dad, as you know, he was Yusuf Khan, which means he was a Pathan. And as a Pathan, he was a loyal, strong, and provider for the family. And all his life, that's what he's done. He's provided for us, and he's protected us. No matter where we were, he always had an eye on us. And he made sure we were all okay. Didn't matter when. Didn't matter if I was 5, if I was 30, if I was 50. He still asked me every day when I was on the phone, "How are you, Beta? How are you doing?" I said, "Dad, I'm fine. How are you?" "Oh, I'm fine, I'm fine." Just making sure I was okay. And we always had nice lunches, and that's all he asked. So the thing that I would like you guys to take away from today is to keep the game of squash going. Introduce it to new people. Play it in his memory. And that is the only way you can keep his memory alive and love him. That's how you're going to show his love. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, next I'd like to call up Al Levine. Gosh, I haven't seen him for a while.
Mutual.
Nice to see you, Al.
Boy, if I'd known I was going to follow 3 children, I'd ask for more money. So, my name's Al Levine, as you just heard. I was at the Seattle club when Yusuf came. And I'm going to tell a few stories about that and about the relationship we had and how much he meant to me. So, you know, when I was writing this up, thinking about it, I thought of 2 things. Passion, that just described Yusuf, passion for squash and passion for his family. And the things we've heard before me have just kind of reinforced that definitely was on the right track. The Seattle club opened in, what did Jane just tell me, or someone told me, March 1982. And we opened with 16 racquetball courts and 2 North American squash courts and a plan to have 12 more racquetball courts on the north side. So, you know, we were definitely kind of thinking of ourselves as a racquetball club. And I had little to do with the planning, but I know the whole story. I ended up managing it shortly after it opened. In about 82 or 83, I went to see Yusuf at the Seattle Rackets Club. Mainly because it was kind of like industry research. I wanted to see what was going on, what his club was like. I'd heard about it. And you know, we hit it off reasonably well and met a few times after that. And then a couple of years later, I'm trying to guess because Jane gave me these dates, November 86 is when Yusuf and started working at the Seattle Athletic Club, a Seattle club as we called it then. So it must have been about 84. Yusuf called me and said, you know, let's get together, I'd like to talk to you, let's have tea. I go, okay. So we got together and he says, I have a proposal, an idea for you. He says, I want to close my club and I will bring all my squash members to your club. And I go, yeah. And, but we met and we talked and, you know, I became convinced of a couple things. One, from a business perspective, it was actually the right thing to do. And because I played racquetball really hard, like a lot of people in those days, and a lot of people were walking out of the gym with elbow problems, shoulder problems, wrist problems, and huge welts on their backs and other parts of their body from getting hit with the racquetball. And I could see attrition decline, and I had, you know, we had 2 squash courts, but they weren't really used much. But more than that, Yusuf brought so much passion and commitment, and it just felt like that was the thing to do. So we decided, I was trying to remember, I honestly don't think there was any kind of written agreement. And I was managing the club, but the guy I managed it for was like, well, if that's what we should do, let's do it. And I just felt with Yusuf, his word was good enough. And he and I both knew we weren't sure how many members would come from Seattle Rackets Club, whether it would be 50 or 100 or 200 or whatever. But you know, it went way beyond that. It went to the confidence and belief that, you know, he would be able to build a program. So I announced to the membership that we were going to do this, and it's not an exaggeration to say all hell broke loose, especially among the racquetball players. And I'll always remember this because in my office came the son of one of the prominent car dealers in town, and may he rest in peace. And he had the names of all the attorneys that he was going to employ when he sued us. And I go, oh, okay. Well, if you knew the club at that point, we weren't that solvent, and it was a very tough business. We had a very large facility, very expensive price structure, and not that many members to support it. And I certainly didn't want to alienate a ton of them. And most of the members were racquetball players. And for those of you who are a little younger than some of us, we opened that club with 800 square feet of fitness, like the equivalent of one racquetball court in 60,000 square feet. That was our whole fitness facility. And we had a pool and a gym, but it was basically a racquetball club. But anyhow, I called Yusuf. I said, Yusuf, I've got a problem here. So we met, and I wasn't, I'm sure he used different words, but to me it was like, okay, Al, just be calm, stay the course, we'll work through this, I will convince you, all these people will be thanking you when we do this. I go, well, But obviously we went ahead, and even before, and it's kind of like Azam and Shabana said, I mean, Yusuf was 24/7. He was at the club. Everybody who walked in the door, do you want to play squash? Can I show you the game? Can I loan you a racket? Can I give you a lesson? And very quickly, his prophecy was true. The same people were coming to me and saying, yeah, we're really glad you made the decision you did. And we started with 4 courts, and I think they have 8 now, and we built into an international court, and exhibition court, and a lot of people playing squash. A lot of them are here today, I'm sure. And I'm almost positive if it hadn't been for making that decision, which probably if I had an MBA instead of an urban planning degree, I never would have made. But, you know, the Seattle Club today probably would be mini storage, because I'm not convinced the club would have survived without going in this direction. Because it brought in and created a group of members who were incredibly loyal, and were loyal to Yusuf, loyal to the game, loyal to the facility, and became lifelong participants. And you know, that's just not true of a lot of the rest of the fitness world, where it's grown so much and people have moved to, you know, working out at work or closer to work or home, you know, all the options that are out there. But squash still has this kind of unique niche, and once people get engaged and play, they stay with it for a long time. You know, Azam's story about Yusuf asking him if he was fit kind of reminded me of when I had my heart attack. Because I'm out there playing squash, and I'm panting and sitting on the side of the court like, I cannot grab my breath at all. And, you know, Yusuf, come on, let's go, get up, let's play. And, you know, a couple days later, I kind of fall over and working out at home, and I Googled heart attack symptoms, and I wasn't really too sure what they were, but turns out profuse sweating, for those of you in the audience, uncontrolled profuse sweating is one of the symptoms. So I did finally, I called my wife who was already at work. She said, you better call 911 maybe. So, Yeah, Yusuf did kind of push you out there on the court. And, but it all worked out for the better. Yeah. So I've got some stuff I wanted to make sure I said, and then I've kind of jumped all around. So I think the other theme, or the other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit, and passion for his family, I don't need to address. You've heard about that. But Yusuf to me was more than a fellow, fellow employee of the club. He was more than a squash pro. He was really a mentor and a helper and a perspective. And someone back there that I'm sitting with said I probably shouldn't go into all the gory details of running the Seattle club in those days, but there were many days I wasn't sure the door was going to be open the next day. And it was a very frustrating world, and we had an owner who was very challenging, and I'd often run down and hide in Yusuf's office, which was, we built a little office for him, and he was always there, and he'd always calm me down, say, let's go hit a few balls, relax, take it easy. But there were not a lot of adults in the house at the time, in the management side of things. We had a lot of people who had their own passion for having fun, working someplace they thought it was kind of fun to work, and it was very different kind of than how I was wired. And Yusuf kind of understood the whole thing, and it really helped me tremendously to have him there and be able to talk to him and get his advice, and just for him to calm me down. So when Yusuf did come, and I think I might be a little bit responsible for Azam being sent over to what was considered exile at the time, but it worked out pretty good. So Azam, Yusuf says, well, I'm going to come work for you. Okay. I'm going to give lessons. Okay. And then, pretty soon, well, Yusuf's coming, and then Azam's coming and giving lessons. Then Ayub's giving lessons. Then Shabana's giving lessons. Then Latasha's giving lessons. And pretty soon, we only had 4 courts at first. All these people Yusuf had converted to squash are going like, okay, it's great, but we need court time too. So I'm talking to Yusuf all the time about, well, Yusuf, we need a can we just have like half of the family giving lessons at one time or something? And, oh yeah. So I think, I don't know, Azam, I don't know that it had anything to do with it, but I have a little idea. But the thing is, it wasn't just Seattle that really knew Yusuf and knew squash. I mean, he brought in, we had any number of international tournaments, and people came from all over the world, and most of them, according to Yusuf at least, were related to him one way or another. They might have been cousins 10 times removed, but there were a lot of squash players who came in who Yusuf seemed to know. We hired I think it was one cousin in Portland. We put squash in the club down there when we had it for a while. What was his name? Gomez. Is he here? Okay, I haven't seen him in ages either. But it was great times. The club had a real vibe and a real